Today we're going to talk about my favorite form building toolkit for SharePoint, and that is InfoWise Ultimate Forms. I've been an independent SharePoint consultant for about 10 years, and I've worked with dozens of different SharePoint customers. And the toolkit we're going to look at today is something I use with all my customers. I like these tools because not only does it give me the ability to easily build dynamic custom forms, I can do things like create custom workflow, build custom PDF print templates, have nice looking dashboards, do charting, automatic email notifications, you name it. This tool set allows me to build complete SharePoint solutions that I could not otherwise do just with out-of-the-box SharePoint. So I'm really excited to share this with you. Now let's get SharePoint smart. Here I am in my SharePoint environment, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some form building using this toolkit. And I've got I guess you could say plain vanilla invoice system. I've got some basic lists set up, and what I'll do is create some custom forms. So we're going to walk you through that. Before I get into it, I want to let you know how you can get this software. I'll provide a link in the comments, but you can get this software and try out all of its tools for free for 30 days. So that's at the infowisesolutions.com site. I'll link it below the video. You want to click on try now for free. You have two options. You can either try this out in the InfoWise tenant, that's the first box, or alternatively you can get the trial installed in your own SharePoint environment. That's the second box. So you just click through those options. The installation is really easy, and then you can begin to play around with the tools and try out this form builder, which is what I especially want to focus on in our presentation today. Okay, so the way this works, you're going to have this app added in your SharePoint environment. If you are not the SharePoint admin, you'll need to get their assistance to have this added. And once you do, it's going to allow you to add this app, InfoWise Ultimate Forms, to your SharePoint environment. And that's going to unlock all the capabilities of what I'm going to be going through today. Once that's in there, you're going to see new options show up in your SharePoint environment. And the most important one to look for is in the command bar, you're going to see a new option which says Design. And this links off to the main Ultimate Forms setting page. So you can think of this like a big toolbox. There's lots of different capabilities provided with this software. We're especially going to focus on form building in our example today. And you can try all this out on your own, just as we're doing this video, by just going through and doing that free trial as I explained. Another thing I want to mention is if you decide to get these tools, I'm able to help you. I can give you a discount, and I'll provide information in the comments as well how you can contact me directly and get a 15% discount off of the list pricing that's at the InfoWise site. So be sure to take advantage of that so you can get an even better deal. So the way this works is I have this whole menu of different options, and we're especially going to focus on Form Designer. Now, some of you may have used Power Apps to do a form, or even Microsoft Forms, and this is an alternative where you're going to be able to create custom forms with all kinds of dynamic requirements very easily. It's going to be a lot faster and more fluid to set up your forms compared to some other options. So first it's going to ask me after I've created my SharePoint fields if I want to do the default form. I like to do everything from scratch. So my demonstration, I'm just going to pick no. And this is a drag and drop form designer interface. And I love this. I've become very familiar with these tools, and I can work very quickly in this, which is key to my job as a SharePoint consultant. So the first thing you're going to do is drag a container out onto the page, and containers are a big part of form building. So I'm going to kind of try to go through things quickly. The button bar I like to always add at the bottom of the page. That's just your standard buttons for saving or editing the form, that type of thing. That all kind of works automatically, so you just should add that at the bottom. And then what I want to do is add some styles. One thing that is really cool about this toolkit is that it's no programming. You don't have to do any code. You have to do things like work in HTML or JavaScript or any of those type of things. You can just work through configuration options. So for my main form container, I'm just going to do like a light blue background, and you can see I can just kind of drag around until I get the look I want. I like to have a black border. We'll add that. And then I'm going to do a little bit of padding in my form. So very easy to do that. And then I can add a theme option. So I just pick rounded shadow. It gives me a little bit of a kind of 3D effect, I guess, if you will. But you can set this up to look however you want. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add another container inside of that. And I'm going to then be able to start dragging my fields out onto my form. So I've got this container here, and I'll go ahead and give that a border and put some padding on that as well. So the thing that's nice is you can just do all of this really fast. I'm not having to deal with granular settings, that kind of thing. So usually I want to do like a multi-column form. So I'm going to adjust my columns on the container. We'll try 4 to start. We'll kind of see how it goes. It's really easy to make adjustments, as you'll see. So I've got a customer that I can select from, email. Let's see, we're going to have some address information too. That'll probably be in the next line. Another thing I can do, which I really love, is I can copy any elements that are already in the form by just clicking this copy button. So I just copy that container. City is going to go with some address information, so I'll just stick it down there. Let's see, we got address 1, address 2. We're going to have a contact name. Let's see what else we got. State. We're going to have the terms on the invoice. Remember, this is an invoicing system that we're doing. We've got a postal code. I'm going to kind of reshuffle and make some adjustments on this just to kind of make everything look as nice as possible. And that's really about all I have to this form. So it's a basic form. And I can do things like put a header on the form really easily. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I can do things like put dynamic information header. So I can include the customer, for example, and I'll just put invoice. And I can just insert this field by clicking the button, and obviously I want it to be a little bit bigger. So I'll make that centered, and I'll change the size of that. And I want to give it some styling, so I'll do the styles like I did before. I'll do like a dark blue background color with white lettering, and I'm just kind of trying to make a nice looking form. Probably need more room for some of these fields. So let's change the column count to make room for some of these. So we've kind of got address 1, address 2, state and zip code could get crunched down a little bit. So one thing I can do is just keep putting more containers in there. So for example, state and postal code are going to be pretty short, right? So I can put another container in there, and I can make that 2 column, and I can make a smaller section of form. I can kind of combine those together, if you will. So lots of options in terms of doing that. Let's see, we usually have city and state together, so let's go ahead and do that. Or actually I'll do city right below here. I can space things out by doing another container control. I'm going to change this actually. I don't need a container right there. So you can reshuffle and reorganize things the way you want. There are a lot of things you can do in the controls in here. And in this video, I'm not going to get into all the different dynamic things that you can do in here. I'm mainly just interested in showing you how fast and easy it is to set things up. Now, another thing you can do, rather than having to create your columns from the SharePoint list view screen or from the list settings, you can create columns directly in here. So it creates columns just the same way as you would if you were creating them in other areas in the list settings, but it just makes it easy to do that, directly in the form designer. So what I can do is, go ahead and hit publish, and then I'll publish my changes in it, and it'll change what appears when I go to, add a customer. Okay, so if I do new customer, we do a refresh. Didn't pick that up right away. There's my new form. See how it replaced what would ordinarily appear in the side panel? So let me put in a new fictional customer. Ted Pizza. I'm just making stuff up here. So let's say terms are 30 days. Ted Miller, 123 North Main Street. I'll go ahead and skip the address to field. Anywhere, Ohio, 22334. Okay, so you can make the forms look however you want. It just replaces what that experience is. Now you're going to notice also I've got these edit buttons here. So in addition to the tools that I work with Ultimate Forms, there's another cool toolkit, which is my tools, which is SharePoint dashboards. And if you like some of these buttons that you see, the view, there's all kinds of templates for that on the SharePointDashboards.com site. I hope you'll check that out. There are 21 free templates. All you have to do is provide your name and email address to sign up for that. And if you really like those, if you go on to do the subscription for that, there's lots and lots of formatting templates. They are available for you to do all kinds of different things for dashboards. So this is a companion tool. This is something you can use in addition to the cool stuff we're looking at, which is Ultimate Forms today. So that's my customers form. So I've got some other ones which we're going to go ahead and knock out. So there's two other lists that I have. The next one I'm going to do is invoices, and then we're going to look at the line items for invoices. I'm going to show you how to do a repeating table. These are some of the buttons from SharePoint dashboard. So, out of the box SharePoint, it's plain vanilla, very boring. So we want to replace that, of course, with a nice looking custom form. So same thing I did before. I just click design, and I can, just hop into Form Designer to get to that. Whoops, I went to the wrong one. I want to go to invoices. Okay, so I just picked the list that I'm working on, and it's asking the same question again, and I tend to follow a similar pattern when I'm setting up forms. What I really want you to notice is how fast this is, how fluid it is creating these forms. So I could probably move even faster this one, so I'll do a similar kind of thing. I'm going to do, I don't know, let's do light green for this one. You can choose whatever you like. You might like a more conventional, just kind of gray and black. That's really up to you. That's kind of the key to this, is you can, have whatever look and feel you think it's going to look best. All right, so I added there. We'll do the rounded shadow theme again. There's not very many fields in this form, so I can just, go ahead and kind of slide my fields over. Well, actually, I take that back. It looks like there are a lot of fields. Okay, so let me kind of just start dragging my stuff in here. I'll do a container, and I'll do kind of like I did before. I'll do a black border, with a little padding around it, and then we can start to put in some of these fields. So that customer list is where we were just at. So I have a lookup field to the customer. I can just kind of keep putting my information here. So I'll do a multi-column form. So we've got customer, and then obviously we're going to have an invoice date, so we can put that in. And let's make that default to today. One thing that's cool with this is you can set default rules very easily. So I can just say a dynamic rule on new, I'll put a description in there and say default to current date. And then I can come over here and there's this function I can use which just says today. Pretty easy to understand that. So I just hit save, and that'll make it so that when the form opens, it'll automatically have the current day's date in there. Okay, so let's copy the container like I did before. We'll start to put in some address information. Make that wider. Oh, that's coming from the lookup field. Okay, I got that. So that'll automatically pull in when you select the customer. Okay, so same thing with city, so address, city, state, zip, all that stuff. State. Here, let's do the thing where I had the container, and we'll make that crunch down into two. So I can just do that, and we got postal code, so do postal code with that. What else we got? We're going to have some notes. I'm going to kind of give that its own form section. So let's copy the container again, and then I'm just going to drag notes in here. This one will be full width, so I set the columns to 1. And then let's see, we have payment terms that can go on the top. What else do we got? Not too much else, I don't think. We're going to be adding a special kind of field. I'm coming up on that invoice number. Obviously, we're going to want to have that on there. So that's required. And what else we got? Email is going to come over automatically. Let's do another container, and we'll do 2 columns. And I'm going to put email next to city. Okay, so those are next to each other. What else we got? Oh, contact. We're definitely going to want that. So move that in here, and I'll go ahead and just kind of put another container in and bump everything over. So that kind of takes care of that stuff. So something you can't do with out-of-the-box SharePoint is a repeating table. So my invoice, I want to be able to do line items, and I'm getting ready to add that. And it's a really cool kind of functionality. So the way I can do that is I can set up this special field provided in Ultimate Forms called Associated Items. So I'm going to add a new column, and I'm going to call it Lines. And this is for the line items on the invoices. So actually, let me call it Invoice Lines. And I have this list I already created called Invoice Lines. So it detects that it's a special content type, and I can just hit Save. And then I'm going to be able to have this repeating table in the form. So you're going to get to see what that looks like in just a moment. So I'll go back to Form Designer, and I'm going to add invoice lines in here. There it is. Okay, and I'm going to give it a special background and border. So let's go ahead and do that part. I'm going to go ahead and give this a white background and a black border and a little bit of padding. There we go. And I can go ahead and publish that. Now the invoice lines list, I also want that to have a custom form. So that's kind of the third list. And I'm going to go to that one. And, again, I don't want this, plain vanilla form opening up when you add these. So I'm going to customize that now. Okay, see, that's what you get with out-of-the-box SharePoint. You can't really do very much to that, and that's where these tools are so handy. So I can go into Form Designer. So this is my third custom form I'm doing. So you can see there's a pattern to it. I just pretty much, I'm repeating a lot of the same steps I did before, and after a while it gets really fast and easy because you just kind of remember where to click, and you have certain preferences as far as things you like to do. I always like to have some kind of color in the form, so I often do a light blue background color, but you can play around with it, do whatever you prefer. Okay, so I like to add a little padding, and I'll do that rounded shadow theme again. I'll add a container inside the outer container, and just like with the other one, I'm going to do the black border with 10 pixel padding. There we go. And this one doesn't have much to it, so I can do this multi-column layout. So this is for each line item on the invoice. So there's going to be a rate and a quantity. So you got quantity times rate will give you a total. And I'm actually going to set up rules in this to automatically do that for me. And then we're going to have a description and details. So I'm going to make quantity, rate, and total all kind of condense into one part of this. So I'm going to make a container for those three. I'm going to say 3 column. I'm going to make this outer container 3. So it's going to look a little funny for a second. Okay, quantity times rate equals our total. Okay, and then before that, I'm going to put in the description and details for that line item. Okay, also what we want to do is automatically pass down the invoice number into this form. So I'm going to have a special field for that. And I think that's pretty much everything that I needed. So now I need to get it to do that special math for me. I do like to click this publish button often and just make sure that I don't lose my progress with what I'm doing. So as I mentioned, the quantity times rate should give us our total automatically. I don't want the user to key in the total because that gets calculated automatically. So the first thing I want to do is add a permission rule, and I'm going to make it read only since the form is going to do that automatically. So really easy here. It's just quantity times rate. So what I can do is set this rule here and select dynamic value, and I can just pick from the field. So it's quantity times rate, and I'll copy this and kind of put it in the description to help me remember instead of it just saying rule 1, and that's it. It'll automatically put in that stuff for me. So that was our third form. So we actually have all 3 of our custom forms set up. And then the invoice number should come down from the parent form. I think I may do that as a next step. So if I click on invoice, I can do a parameter, say invoice. You have to put something special here. Info as form value title. Maybe it's invoice. I'm getting ready to find that out. I'll put this as a placeholder for now and publish. All right, I've got lots of windows open. I'm going to kind of close down some of that so I don't confuse myself. All right, so let's see how we did. We already kind of saw how the customer form looks. Let's see what it looks like when we create an invoice. So I'm going to do a new invoice. No, there's the date. It came in automatically. Here's a lookup field for the customer. Now those extra form fields are going to come in after I save. Another cool feature with this is on those lookup fields, it provides a preview button which will let you see all the details about the customer. So that could be helpful just to make sure you're putting in the right thing. I'm going to say this invoice is $5,400, and then I've got a note section on the bottom too. This is just for testing. Okay, here's the repeating table, and this is what you can't do with out-of-the-box SharePoint, but a lot of people need that. Obviously on a invoice form, you're going to need that. The invoice number is 5,400, so you can make that pass down automatically. I think I have a mismatch on my field name. I'll have to double check that one. And I'll just say monthly services, regular development, and then I'm going to say there was 10 hours at $60 an hour. And see how that total comes in automatically? So that's really cool. And then I can keep going with it. So there's one, and now I want to add another line item. So I do that and say, whatever, security, software, standard addition, and we'll say 2 of those at 120, and the math happens automatically. Okay, so I know what you're probably thinking. We want to do auto totals, and that's easy to set up as well. So I'm going to go back to Form Designer, and I'll show you how that works. So I've got my invoice. There's the invoice for Big Ted's Pizza, and now we're going to do the total amount. So I'll go back to Form Designer, and we have something called Associate Items Summary. So I did this Associate Items field. Summary is easy to do. I just can say, grand total, and it already knows invoice lines, and now I just need to find the correct column. So the total, we want a total of the totals, if that makes sense. So I need a sum of those, and then that's it. I'll have a new field called grand total, which I can now add to my form, and that will automatically get calculated in the form for me. So naturally you're going to want to add that at the bottom. So I'll do 4 column, and then I like to just stick it in containers to kind of pad it over, because I want this grand total field to appear over below the total column. So once you kind of get to this step, you want to keep testing with the live form. So I published those changes. So now I want to open up invoices and check that out. Okay, so I'll go back into this form, and we'll go ahead and check that. So do one more. Let's see, this is, what was it? 5,400, okay. Invoice 5,400. Annual review, say 1 at 150. Okay, there you go. So 600 and 240 plus 150, that's 990. So that automatically auto-calculates for me. And then naturally we can show that on there. Now, if I'm doing invoices, what I'm going to want to do, I'm going to make PDFs, right? I'm going to do that kind of thing. That's something ordinarily that's very difficult to do, trying to use just out-of-the-box tools. And that is something that's included with Ultimate Forms. It includes custom print capabilities. So what you're able to do is create a print template in here, and you can set it up multiple different ways. But the way I prefer is you can actually create a Word document and reference those fields for your invoice, and you can include a logo. You can do all the things that generally all of us are familiar with in Microsoft Word. You just reference the field. You can see the references in the square brackets, and so I can then do things like automatically create a PDF. And then what are you going to do? You want to email your customer automatically. Email notifications are great. So if I didn't have these tools, I would have to use Power Automate. So I go into Power Automate, and I define the trigger event and create the rules. And then the formatting of the email itself is difficult. And Ultimate Forms really solves all those challenges. It makes it easy for you to manage all of your email rules easily directly in SharePoint. I don't have to go off into some other tool. So I do new invoice. I can define who it's going to, and I can reference fields as well. So if I want to send it to the customer, I can just use the email address from the field. It'll reference that dynamically. I can say I want that to go on add. And this is the visual editor tool. I can say, invoice, and then reference an invoice number. So I can come in here and, where is it? There it is. So I double click that. You can see the fields are referenced in the square brackets. That invoice number is ready for your review. And then I can put in all my dynamic content. So all those columns are referenceable. So I can say dear, and then, I'm going to reference my customer name. So I have the contact. And, I like to make it bigger. I don't want to have a tiny letters email. Your invoice is ready. And then I can reference other fields. I can do highlighting very easily. I can just use this visual editor tool to highlight fields and make things look however I want. So it's really handy using that. So in the video today, the thing that I really want to emphasize is Form Designer. And all these other tools are essential and complement that, but that's really the heart of Ultimate Forms. That's what makes it especially valuable, because custom form building is critical. And there are some other tools out there, but the experience that you're going to have in something like Power Apps is that it is developer oriented and it's time consuming. A lot of granular settings, and that's where Form Designer is awesome. We didn't really get into it in the video, but for all of these different controls, I can do things to make the form dynamic. I can make fields hide or show depending on who you are or depending on what the status is. I can default in different information. We saw calculations. We can do things like have a tabbed form across the top. We didn't need that for this one, but you can set up tabbed form sections if you like. And these tools are a culmination of more than 15 years of custom SharePoint development. So they're very deep, they scale, and so the more you learn about this, the more familiar you become with it, the more payoff you get, the more productive you can be. So it's just a really awesome tool set. So the key thing for you is to try it out for yourself. So it doesn't do any good for me to say how great it is when I use it. I really am hoping you'll try that for yourself. So the first step for you to do that is to go to the InfoWiseSolutions.com site and click Try Now for free. And then you've got those two options. So if you're a SharePoint admin, or you can get the help from your SharePoint admin, your best option is to go and install it directly into your SharePoint. And you can do this both for SharePoint Online or on-premise SharePoint. Alternatively, if you don't have that access right now, like I said, you can just click this button and we'll set up a trial for you right in the InfoWise website, and you can begin using this immediately. And then that way you can start trying out the form builder while you're waiting to get that installed into your environment. So that'll let you get in and do some practice. And then the first time you build a form, you want to do what I call the hello world steps, where you do basic training for yourself. And if you go to our resources in the tutorial section, you're going to find a section called Kickstart Training. And that has a video which you can watch, which will walk you through those steps so you can build your first form. Or instead of a video, if you prefer to just read through the steps, if you find that a better way to go through it, you can just read the steps, look at the screenshots, and do precisely what's there. So whether you're a SharePoint developer or whether you're completely brand new to SharePoint, it's written in a way to make it easy and understandable, help you get through the very first form that you set up. So once you have access to Ultimate Forms, I really recommend you get in there and try this Kickstart Training tutorial. Beyond that, there's all kinds of things you can do. We have custom templates, Ultimate Forms does, in the solution catalog. So you can download pre-existing templates. We've built, things like purchase order systems, job applications, leave tracking. There's lots and lots of options in here, more than 100 different templates. You can download those and you can, adjust them and make them used for your own organization, or you can just use them just to get different ideas on different things that you can, build in SharePoint. So there are a lot of options for you to look at. So I know that's a lot to absorb, and when I tell people about this toolkit, I'm always a little hesitant to say too much, because I know how that feels. And when you're learning a new technology, that can feel overwhelming. And so the joke I always go back to, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So it's really important to understand that it's a process, and you want to stay focused just on the first part of that process, and not worry about all the big picture stuff until later. This is an awesome toolkit to build SharePoint forms, and I really do think you'll fall in love with it like I have if you're able to take the time to try it out for yourself. So the most important thing is to be able to try out Form Designer and do your own practice forms. To get there, you just need to add the free trial for yourself. Another thing that you can do is sign up for a demo with InfoWise. So there's a option halfway down that page where you can click and sign up if you want to have a conversation with somebody to talk about the project you're working on. So that would be a great option. Once you've got your access to your software, whether it's in the InfoWise site or you've installed the trial in your own environment, your next step should be the Kickstart training, because that really spells it out, helps you do that very first form when you're maybe overwhelmed or not sure where to click in that form designer the first time. That's going to get you rolling. That'll get you out of the box. From there, there's all kinds of possibilities. Now you can start to experiment and see how the email notification rules work. You could look at the print template options. You could look at setting up the repeating table like we did in this example. So just lots of possibilities. I really, really love these tools. It's been a huge part of my career as a SharePoint solutions developer, and it's just something that's very important for me. I hope you can see my excitement about this, and I hope you can see some possibilities about how it can help you in your organization. And also, as I mentioned, reach out to me directly. So you can contact me through the link below the video. You can contact me at my SharePoint dashboard site. And if you reach out to me about getting Ultimate Forms, I can help you get a 15% discount off of the list pricing at the InfoWise site. So I hope you found that useful. I hope you share my excitement and enthusiasm when it comes to this Forms kit. And I really especially hope that you're able to try it for yourself. And that's it. Good luck.